Boneworks is a VR game about a guy playing a VR game who ascends to a higher dimensionality and then gets shot in the back of the fucking head. And on that bombshell, let me indulge you in the world of Boneworks is a game, and in most games, you can do things. I know, I've never said anything quite as controversial as that. The only difference with Boneworks is that it's all in VR. To specify, Boneworks is a game where you can interact with the world in a way that closely resembles the real world, in a way that's far more immersive than any other VR game that came before it, as well as most VR games that came after it. As most of you probably know, VR is already one of the more immersive mediums out there. I mean, of course, how could it not be? VR controls are specifically designed to mimic your real-world input and recreate that input in the virtual world, with enough precision to trick that monkey brain of yours into thinking you're actually in these spaces, doing these things, when in reality you're just swinging a controller around like an idiot with a plastic box strapped to your face. In fact, VR is so damn immersive that some people develop something known as phantom sense, where you actually start feeling the things that you're experiencing in VR. Unsurprisingly, this is a phenomenon that affects people who play VR chat. Who could have guessed? Then, at some point during the December of 2019, the developers at Stress Level 0 came down from the heavens, and they gave us Boneworks. Like Prometheus giving fire to man, altering our understanding of VR games forever. Or something along those lines. I'm sure it happened exactly like that. Especially for its time, Boneworks was revolutionary as a VR game. And for one very simple reason. It had a physics engine. You, the player, are given an avatar that the world of Boneworks can interact with. Of course, given the nature of Newton's third law, this goes both ways. You can touch anything. Anyone? Heyo? To put it simply, Boneworks is basically a sandbox game. Kind of like Minecraft. Or Gary's Mod, if you're the age of a fossil. The key distinction between these kinds of games and Boneworks is the fact that it has a campaign. But I'll get to that in a moment. With that being said, the fact that this game has a fully fledged physics engine is exactly how its immersion is dialed all the way up to 11. Typically, VR games are more of an experience than anything else. They give you something to do, or see, or hear, and that's about it. But Boneworks is different. Boneworks is a world at the mercy of your grubby little VR hands that grab everything and throw it all around like monkeys throwing shit at the wall. Don't worry, that's perfectly normal. Every last room, every last bullet, every last head crab, every last axe swing, every last box and every last wall. It's all there, and it feels so good. Oh yeah, and games with physics can be pretty funny, because who doesn't love throwing things around, right?
Ah, this is just how I throw bricks at unsuspecting homeless people. Yippee! Me, when I see an IKEA worker minding their own business.
Playing Boneworks for the first time is one of those once-in-a-lifetime experiences, in my opinion. Something akin to titles like Undertale or Ultragale. Chances are you will be overwhelmed in your first playthrough. But as the game progresses, you'll slowly get to grips with how things work. Unless you have motion sickness, that is. And eventually you will have to put what you've learned to the test in the final couple of levels. Now, obviously, Boneworks doesn't reinvent the wheel here. What I just described is called progression, and every good video game has it. But that's exactly why I'm mentioning it. The campaign of Boneworks never feels unnecessarily dull or boring, especially on a first playthrough. And that's entirely because of the fact that we can interact with this world in whatever way we please. Everything here in Boneworks is a spectacle, even the things that shouldn't be. And I think something about this game brings out that kind of primal urge in me to just go around and interact with everything I can get my stupid 3D Boneworks hands on, like a kid at Legoland. The campaign of Boneworks gives you the freedom to explore and just be in awe and wonder of the incredible world Stress Level 0 have created while figuring out what it is you need to do here in this virtual dystopia of a world. It's all interactable. Every last item. Even the ones that most VR games wouldn't bother adding physics for. At the end of the day, you have yourself, the world around you, and your problem-solving skills. That's all there is to it, and what you do with that setup is entirely up to you. In my opinion, Boneworks walks this thin line between sandbox and campaign. If the game had went too far in either direction, it wouldn't be nearly as satisfying as it is. Of course, the two factors of VR physics and the freedom to play around with it, while being the core elements of Boneworks, are not the entirety of what makes this game so damn great. Obviously, without factors such as story, art, direction, atmosphere, and a soundtrack that goes so damn hard it'll send you into a coma, Boneworks would probably fall flat with what it's trying to achieve. With regards to the story, well, it's there. It's definitely a story. It's also a little confusing, and, well, I'm not gonna be the one to explain it to you. That's not because I have a brain the size of a peanut or anything, but rather because I just can't be bothered. With that being said, there's plenty of videos out there explaining the story of Boneworks if you're ever curious about it. It certainly has a very heavy sense of mystery to it, and that was definitely enough to hook me on my first playthrough. The art direction and atmosphere makes everything in this game seem expansive and empty, almost liminal. A very purposeful choice, mind you. It's all industrial and cold. It feels overwhelming, in a good way. Like this world you're traversing through is so much greater than you will ever be. Speaking of it, you, the player, are completely alone in this enormous digital city called Myth OS, left abandoned briefly after the start of the game. Very meta, I know. Yes, that pun was intended. No, I will not apologize. The soundtrack of this game is fucking incredible. I am genuinely surprised that people don't talk about it more often or use it for stuff, because trust me when I say that every track in this game is an absolute banger. In my very humble, and never wrong, opinion, the soundtrack of Boneworks is up there with the greats like the Undertale, Minecraft, and Super Mario Galaxy soundtracks. I highly recommend giving some of it a listen once you're done watching this. In conclusion, Boneworks is a game. Well, that's it. The video's over. Nah, I'm just kidding. If this video is your first introduction to the profoundly spiritual experience that is Boneworks, you're probably sitting there thinking, is there a sequel? Ha! Is there a sequel? Well, allow me to introduce you to... I'm going to keep this part of the video brief, and that's because, well, Bonelab is brief. Boneworks is roughly 4 to 5 hours of playtime. Bonelab is only 3 hours. Might not seem like much of a difference, but trust me, you can feel it. After the explosion in popularity that was Boneworks, Bonelab, the spiritual sequel, was set for success. And, well, let's just say some people didn't think it was. Probably just like this video, compared to that Five Nights at Freddy's video I released a few weeks ago. Anyways, Bonelab was set up for success, and it kind of flopped. But why? The graphics are much better. The story picks up from where Boneworks left off, kind of. The physics are still there. You can even change your avatar now. There's built-in mod compatibility. There's easily accessible sandbox levels. And there's even a damn hub now. How cool is that? The thing is, these changes are good. They're very good, actually. I think on a foundational level, Bonelab is absolutely better than Boneworks. Now, hold on. Before some of you start throwing tomatoes at me, let me explain. I think people expected Bonelab to be like Boneworks. And by that I mean a VR-based physics game that has an intuitive and long campaign. And, well, they were half right. The campaign of Bonelab, sadly, feels like a tutorial. Like the start of a game, or a showcase of all the cool new things Stress Level 0 have created. Some of the levels in Bonelab feel disconnected from one another, and others have obvious padding that makes the playthrough feel a little shallow. The game feels unfinished. Or, for better reference, it feels like a sandbox game. But, you know, unlike Boneworks, Bonelab feels like it's just a sandbox game. The soundtrack is still incredible though. The guy who made the soundtracks for Boneworks and Bonelab, Michael Wickoff, must have been high as balls when he made this shit, because that's exactly how I feel listening to some of these tracks. That is a compliment, by the way. In summary, I think people were expecting the wrong thing from Bonelab. And, well, as much as I love the game, that did include me. As I sort of talked about in my Five Nights at Freddy's video, we tend to compare new things to old things. And I think that if Bonelab came before Boneworks, people wouldn't have cared as much. Then again, I suppose there is the argument to be made that people wouldn't have gotten into Bonelab if it was the first release. But personally, I highly doubt that. So then, what's the moral of the story? go play Boneworks. It's a pretty good game. And if you like Boneworks, give Bonelab a shot. Oh yeah, and if you liked the video, go give it a thumbs up. And maybe even consider subscribing. It would be very much appreciated. If you don't have the time or money to play Boneworks, I'll probably be doing a replay of it on Twitch sometime soon, if you'd like to come in and chit-chat. Oh yeah, and I also have a Discord server. It's the best Discord server ever. Trust me, everyone there is definitely not clinically insane. Links will be in the description. Alright, that's all. You can go home now.